Let's compare two Qui-Gon Jinn style lightsaber hilts. So on the left is an 89 Sabers Qui-Gon Jinn lightsaber hilt, and on the right is an Ultrasabers Consular lightsaber hilt. So both these are from custom saber manufacturers. That means they're not licensed, but let's take a closer look. So first of all, if we look at kind of the overall hilt design, the one on the left, the 89 Sabers hilt, looks far more screen accurate. Now both of them kind of have just generally sort of a Qui-Gon Jinn lightsaber hilt to it, but you know, the grooves over here and also kind of the trademark red button of the lightsaber hilt, that really pops out on the 89 Sabers hilt and looks far more screen accurate. Now both of these hilts have a shroud that's removable, so if you remove the cover tech wheel on either of these hilts, you can slide that shroud right off. Now on this 89 Sabers hilt, there's actually a compartment in the back, and so you can kind of remove that compartment to do an install, so that's kind of a handy feature on this hilt. So let's kind of actually kind of meander to the top of the hilt and go a little bit more in depth there. So here's kind of a side-by-side of these hilts, what they look like in the emitter area. You can see that the Ultrasabers Consular, this part of the emitter section, this kind of metallic silver part, is definitely taller, and it has kind of this extra section on top that's not really on this 89 Sabers hilt. Here's a look at the top of the emitter section, so you can see that there's a little bit of a recessed area in the 89 Sabers hilt, and that's not the same with this Consular from Ultrasabers. There's the inside. Now the kind of moving a bit down to this tapered part of the emitter section. So you can see that both of these hilts have grooves here, although you know, some of these, this part of the hilt is definitely a bit thicker on the Ultrasabers hilt, and the similar rings on this 89 Sabers hilt are definitely thinner. Now here's the blade retention screw for the 89 Sabers hilt. It's a very small screw, and it's very discreet and out of the way. And the Ultrasabers blade retention screw is right here. It's a little bit more prominent, and it's located a bit lower on the emitter section of the hilt. Now the Ultrasabers hilt, the emitter section is removable, and it's MHS compatible. So if for some reason you would want to kind of have a mashup hilt, or just to swap this out with a different emitter section, you could. With the 89 Sabers hilt, the emitter section is just part of the body. Okay, now so we have a few more grooves here. The finish on the Ultrasabers hilt, also, the black part seems to be maybe a little bit shinier, although the shroud on the 89 Sabers hilt is much more of a mirror finish, and the finish on the Ultrasabers hilt is a bit more dull. Although Ultrasabers does offer a nickel-plated option, and so I think that's a bit more of a vibrant finish, but I don't have that, so I can't compare. Now there's the switch hole on the Ultrasabers hilt, so it's standard for a lot of Ultrasabers hilts to have a guarded switch or an AV switch, so that you know, it wouldn't look very much like this kind of knurled metallic red switch that's on the 89 Sabers hilt. This is much more screen accurate. Now we can take a little bit more of a look at the shroud. So you can see the shroud design is radically different. Both of them kind of have this hooked area right here, but it's a bit more extended on the Ultrasabers hilt, and it's a bit shorter on the 89 Sabers hilt. If we look at the back, the shroud kind of has these sections where you can kind of see the black part of the hilt underneath on the 89 Sabers hilt, and it's just, the shroud is just all kind of solid on the back on the Ultrasabers hilt. You can see a difference in the cover tech wheel design as well. It's kind of just flat, you know, for the Ultrasabers hilt, and there's sort of a cutout design for the 89 Sabers hilt. Now back to the front, that's kind of a weird phrasing, but probably my favorite part of the 89 Sabers hilt is, you know, this groove section. Look at those thick kind of cut to the grooves, or they're just very deep grooves. They're gorgeous. Now the Ultrasabers Hilt also has some grooves. They're just a bit more surface level. And this is a bit more standard with a lot of hilts. Now we hit to the pommel section, so both of them do have vented pommels. Here's the vented pommel design for the 89 Sabers hilt, and here's the vented pommel for the Ultrasabers hilt. And you can also see that just the overall size of the Ultrasabers hilt is larger, which, it's pretty common for some of the kind of character-inspired hilts from Ultrasabers. So it's a bit wider, and also the length of the hilt is sort of nominally longer as well. So this has just been kind of a quick look comparing these two lightsaber hilts from different companies. They're both Qui-Gon Jinn style lightsabers, and the one on the left is 89 Sabers Qui-Gon Jinn lightsaber hilt, and on the right is the Ultrasabers Consular.